There we go.
Tug lightly on this bowl of mine. Well, my screen has seen some better times. Well, my buddy poked a hole, now my weed falls deep inside. Please tug lightly on this bowl of mine.
Good evening. I'm Coulter Wonkite. I'm already into the 420, damn it.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
You like music, you like weed, well, we gonna be good friends indeed. This is not much I like more than smoking trees. They'll make you dance the do-si-do and teach you how the chiba grows. Smoke a bowl on the 420 radio show. On Lifestyle Radio.
Howdy, howdy. This is the 420 radio show.
Are you an independent musician?
You shut up.
How would you like to have...
There we go. All right, you have to unmute everybody, and welcome to the show. And I think everything's running good. Is everything running good over there, Marcel?
So far.
I'm
trying to answer somebody in the chat room on Facebook.
Oh. Did they figure it out?
No,
Dale saved it.
They want you to post the link on in a Facebook group since they can't share it.
I can do that. What's the Facebook group?
Cannabis.
Here's the link. And since you're talking to them, I'm going to send it to on our Facebook page, chat thingy. And then you can share it to them. This is the link for the video on Facebook.
Yeah, I can get that.
Ding. And if you want to listen to just the stream, you can do so at 420radio.ca. So, today we are here with Ken Tovich. Is that?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. And Ken is here from FloraMax, and he's going to talk about his products. He's also in Australia, so I'm excited about having a conversation with somebody in another country, especially a country that's kind of like 5 or so years behind what we've just gone through. They're on their way, although, you know, I'm sure there's bumps and giggles just like we went through, or still going through. We're also going to talk with Darcy about his grow tip stuff, and you know, we're here. So I'm gonna let since Darcy invited Ken, I'm gonna let him have the first go at him and chat. I'm sure that Marcel will jump in because he's actually testing the product. So go ahead, Darcy. It's all on you today. You bring a guest.
Oh, wow.
You get to bring
you bring the guest. You entertain us.
There you go. I'm going to go back to my doobie.
This is Ken Tovich. He's from FloraMax Nutrients, which is an Australian-born company. They have a line of products right now that is on the market in North America, who just came into the Canadian market, or just getting into the Canadian market, if I'm not mistaken, Ken?
Yeah, no, that's the case. And thanks, guys, for having me on the show. Appreciate the opportunity for me to come on. FloraMax, as Darcy mentioned, we are just entering the Canadian marketplace now. There's only actually 2 retailers that are carrying us. There's a number of larger commercial operations that have had sort of pre-screens, and they're sort of testing the product now. People are looking at it there, but we have a warehouse in Vancouver that is actually just got loaded up this week, so we're actually able to start distribution, that kind of thing. But we're really excited about being in Canada. We've been in the U.S. for about 3 years now. Major markets in the U.S. are Michigan, Colorado, California, and Oregon, but we are there's little dribs and drabs and states all over the place. So we're, so thanks for having me on the show, guys.
You're more than welcome.
You're more than welcome.
So if you don't mind, Ken, tell us a little bit about FloraMax and what they're about.
Sure. So FloraMax, as a company, we actually the company actually started under a different name back in 1966. So the current owner's father actually started the company, and his background, he was actually the chief water chemist for Western Australia. So Australia is very similar to Canada in terms of having a very large and strong agricultural base. So the agricultural background of the state here, there's a lot of land, there's a lot of space, there's not a lot of great soil, and there's not great water conditions. So the company started out with basically water treatment for agriculture. And as you can imagine, there's not much of a step to take that to hydroponics. So the company started developing in 1991 hydroponic products for agriculture, and then went fully hydroponic a few years shortly thereafter. And we marketed there's a brand called Flareform, which currently actually we still manufacture and has been in place sort of around the world. Not so much in North America, but has quite a following in the UK and New Zealand. And on the east coast of the U.S. originally. But for a number of reasons, that product wasn't really, because, as a company, there wasn't really a focus on international distribution. Also, we're talking the mid-'90s. It's still, our favorite crop, still a dirty word, that kind of thing, and the legislation's changing rapidly. So it kind of wasn't the time and place. But FloraMax evolved out of that line in maybe the research started about 7 to 10 years ago, and the company very much is a research company. So we're always looking at incorporating the latest agricultural technology into our products. So we're pretty excited about introducing the line because there's a couple of differences. I kind of didn't want to really necessarily turn this into a sales spiel for our stuff, because I prefer to let the product's results do the talking, and we're doing our best to sort of establish a footprint in Canada where people can access the product and they can try it for themselves. But I can maybe if I could take it in the direction of education, because there are some technical points of difference about the product that are unique. So I will start with the position, and guys, interrupt if I'm kind of crapping on a bit here, but you guys are giving me an open mic.
Go ahead, Ken.
This is your forum, Ken. Go for it, baby.
I was gonna say to you, tell us what stands out different from you guys from the rest of the nutrients companies out there. So
yeah, so the position I'll start with is that a good grower can achieve super dank results a lot of different ways with a lot of different lines. There are organic growers who get fantastic results. And we do have a view on that. We do feel that there is a place for synthetic nutrients or synthetic components in the industry, because just the way agriculture has evolved, if you're looking for any kind of yield, that's probably going to be a fairly key component of your nutrient regime, is having some sort of synthetic feed. But then also on the organic side, the developments in the last couple of years, that's what's really exciting in agriculture. So, for example, mycorrhiza, 5-7 years ago, you could not find that you could not access that product as a grower. Okay, so now it's widespread, and the use of it definitely makes a difference. And there's a whole family of newer organic compounds, and I'm not talking batshit, seagull shit, guano, those kind of soil amendments in a unrefined large form. I'm actually talking more about sort of reducing these organic components down to a more purified kind of level. So that's one of the things that really stands about the FloraMax line, is that we've incorporated a number of these organics into our line and some of our additives. So technically, when I'm asked what is FloraMax, is it organic? Is it an organic line? We do have products and additives that are 100% organic, but we're actually a biosynthetic line, because our view is that you actually need both to maximize the genetics and yield of your crop. So that's our view on that. But I was going to say, back to the growers, a good grower can get great results And part of that is because they look at their plants and they sort of see, right, okay, they can recognize a deficiency. And then over time, people can develop tricks, things to, grow, and those are all the grow tips and all the experience there. But with FloraMax, what we try to do is we try to make those results more easily accessible than you would otherwise. So when you walk in a grow shop, you could walk out with 100 bottles, and really we see pH control as a very critical component of growing. So depending on how, and part of that comes from our background in water treatment. So the pH, water pH conditions where I am in Western Australia can be pretty harsh. They can sort of range from 7 up to 9. So that's not particularly great. And so people who don't, we see it a lot of time in the industry, people just are not very diligent with checking pH. So with FloraMax, the FloraMax line, aside from the organics, the other thing is we believe that we have the highest level of buffering available in a nutrient line. And by that, I mean that we actually build in a hard buffer at pH 6.5. So when you put our base nutrient into the water, you effectively are conditioning the water to accept alkalinity. Okay, and to give you an idea of how stable pH-wise, when you mix a FloraMax reservoir, we've tested our reservoir to 28 days with no drift of pH. So I don't know how technical we get here with the audience and with you guys and stuff, but as a comparison, most nutrient lines you'd be sort of lucky to get 5 to 10 days, but 28 days no drift. On our website, actually, there's a picture of a lab sample that started out at pH 5.996, and basically it's at 6.47. So only it's wavered less than half a point of pH, and that's over 19 months. So that's really for growers who are sort of looking at that. It's extra insurance against lockout. So I'm going to apologize here because I'm talking, but the knowledge or your audience, I don't know how many people are actually growing or sort of care about this kind of stuff. But one thing that I can caution people about, because everyone reads about nutrient lockout, dropout, and where different elements drop out of their reservoir. And the first element to go is iron. And iron drops out at pH 6.5. So it's critical that during the process of mixing your reservoir for your plants and stuff that the pH doesn't get above 6.5. And that's why we put our buffer in at 6.5. That extra insurance, because everyone talks about lockout, recognizes that's a problem, but they also don't realize how quickly that occurs. So, and we've done, just in our testing, for example, at pH 7.5, that's not an unheard of pH number for a lot of places. Okay, at pH 7.5, that iron is 100% gone after 1 hour. Okay, so picture this typical scenario. You mix your reservoir. You take a phone call, or you go have dinner and you think, oh, I'm going to check the pH of the reservoir before I feed my plants later. Well, if an hour has gone by, results may vary. Okay, so that kind of insurance of having something that will sit there, you can lower it. You can lower it to whatever your target pH is, but you just can't. It's very difficult to get it over 6.5, and that just provides that insurance for the growers that maybe aren't so diligent. But that also applies to commercial growers as well, with large-scale operations. That ease of use is that's something we've tried to put into the line. So that's just, each of the products, there's a couple of different things that we do. We have a root enhancer, we have a resin enhancer, and then and probably the other feature of the line is that we do not use any carbohydrates in this nutrient line. So there are no sugars. Okay.
Or PGRs.
Or PGRs for that. Yeah, so we've been a no PGR, aggressively no PGR stance for years. But the sugar thing, so how we've gotten around that is the use of these organics. So the organics, really, there's 3 things that we're sort of working on. One of them is trichome stimulating production and the number of trichomes, as well as what the trichomes actually produce. There's an organic that we have in there that we believe we are the only people that, because Andrew Taylor, who's the head chemist, has been researching these compounds for a number of years, and we believe we're the only one to have incorporated that in a nutrient line. There's another organic that stimulates root production, and then there's a third one that basically we'll call it a plant structure, okay, but without the use of, there are no PGRs. So the lack of sugars, what that allows is a much cleaner reservoir. Because when you start incorporating carbohydrates into your reservoir, you pick up there's a number of negative effects, biofilms, slimes, and it can also be an attractant for pests and bacterial, the stimulation of bacterial growth. So while there are beneficial bacteria, there's also a whole bunch of bad ones as well that love to have the sugar. So by eliminating the use of sugars, you actually have sort of a significantly cleaner running line, and it's actually very suitable. It was originally, that design mandate originally came from trying to develop something for commercial growers who are using large-scale fertigation. So lines can be clogged by synthetic buildups, but they can also be clogged by biofilms, slimes, and molds, and that kind of thing. But I was going to say that our approach is, we are a research company. We put a fair amount of technology into our products. And I was going to say that if people are more curious, they can go to FloraMax.com and look at the products and the additives. There's a wealth of information in there. There's also a significant number of, there's a grow guide with a lot of grow tips because our approach is there's an education aspect. And then if people try the products, we think they'll come to their own conclusions, because everything we do, the boss is, there's a lot of hype in the industry and there's a lot of marketing, and the boss has a pretty aggressive stance against that kind of stuff. That maybe at some point we can get him on the show and see if we can get him fired up.
Sure.
But without casting any shade on the industry. But anyway, yeah. That's how I'll handle that. But of course, questions and
so I have a question, and then I know that Marcel's probably chomping at the bit because he wants to talk about it. Is this you have several different things for veg grow, that kind of thing, right? But what you were talking about, getting things going and feeding and that, is this something that's going to correct the pH on its own, or do you have to correct that as well?
Yeah, good question. So we take the grower to below 6.5, okay? Because we know that if you can maintain a reservoir below 6.5, a grower will get a result.
Okay. Right, but are you doing it with your nutrients? Like, is your nutrients doing the buffering? Yes. Itself, so it doesn't. So the grower doesn't actually have to check his pH levels then.
Well, look, that's dangerous territory. It's bad advice. A good grower should always check their pH. But,
right.
But I will say that a lot of growers use our product and do not own the pH pen.
Let me simplify it. I'm doing my first grow this year. Okay,
yeah.
I've been doing this a long time with Marcel and other people, in the industry and stuff like that. So I can have a conversation about it, but I've never actually gone through the process of growing my own meds. Not seriously, anyways. So, who laughed?
I'm not.
What do you think?
It wasn't serious. I know it wasn't.
So I guess like I'm your layman, your first time grower. There's a lot of different markets on the different market. There's a lot of different products on the market. Sell me your product. We recently had another product on a couple of weeks ago. Very interesting. I won't go into details. We're here to talk about stuff with you. But sell me the product. Send me some. I'll try it. That's where I'm at right now. I'm looking for the easiest way for somebody with really bad ADHD who can pull off a major grow. Not a major grow, but I mean a good grow, so that I have enough meds at the end of the year.
Yeah. So if I were looking at different, you're right. There's so much stuff on the market. Okay. But as a first time grower, okay, so the first thing we all acknowledge is we all get better. The first time you try anything, if you can have a bit of success, hey, that's great. But most people sort of get a little bit hooked and they think, oh yeah, let's do better next time and all the rest of it. So that's great. I was going to say, for me, if I'm looking at evaluating a nutrient line, there's a couple of things. First of all, you can really get wrapped up in the technology. So I love my extreme sports. I was a skier. I used to just like look at ski specs and get right into the equipment and really techie and everything like that. But at the end of the day, okay, the key difference is how much time I actually spent skiing. Okay, so with growing, I sort of think of with nutrient lines, it's kind of like you can spend a lot of time on the nutrient technology, but I'm sure as Darcy and a number of you guys who are experienced growers can tell you, nutrients are probably not your number one priority. There's a whole bunch of things that are gonna mess up or limit the potential of your crop more so than the nutrients. Okay. So heat, temperature, the amount of light, your environment. So with us, we tried to come up with a very simple line so that growers can concentrate on some of those other aspects of their grow. I know Darcy's actually doing some stuff with our line that we haven't actually seen before. So we're really curious. He is really pushing it to pushing the grow in terms of the EC, the peak parts per million. In Canada, what do you use, EC or parts per million?
They use depending on where you're at, a little bit of both.
Here you have to know both.
Yes.
Darcy uses EC and I use parts per million.
Okay. So
just
basically,
Marcel's difficult.
In terms of how hot he's mixing the nutrients, he's significantly, like maybe double what we would have recommended. And typically, growers who are pushing that hard start seeing some negative effects in the plants in terms of like tip burn. The feed is just too hot. But the fact that Darcy's able to push his plants like that indicates to me that he has other aspects of his environment dialed in so that the plants can actually take it. Consequently, they're probably growing monstrously if they're not burning. So
is this indoor? Is this indoor or outdoor, Darcy?
This is actually both of them. I got my indoor and outdoor, and my indoor, man, they're exploding the last week and a half. They just exploded, and I had to kick a whole bunch of everything else out of the tent, and it left me with only 2 plants to work with. But those 2 plants are they're turning into monsters, and I don't know if I have enough room. That's the worst thing.
Well, nice problem to have. So, Al, back to your
it's not a bad problem to have.
Al, back to your question about selling you the line. So the thing is, I was going to say that the simplicity of only having a few bottles actually allows you to concentrate on some of these other things that could make things go south more quickly.
Okay.
So if you know that that's locked away, and then also with the pH thing, there's, they're kind of like having pets because it's not like you can just piss off for a week on holiday. You've got to sort out, that kind of thing. And also when you're in a rush, because if it's not part of your regular routine and all the rest of that kind of stuff, that pH buys you a little bit of wiggle room, the pH control and the stability. So you can lower. So the process, Marcel, you had commented, what is the process with how you actually pH the water? So with our feed chart, you can find that online, but you basically go left to right on it, and you'll notice the first thing to be added is the base. Okay, that's unusual for a lot of lines, because a lot of lines, the first thing they'll put is the silica, and the reason is because in the industry, as an additive, silica tends to be the most alkaline additive, so that will increase pH. That's the danger point. That's the thing that's going to screw up your reservoir the most and cause dropout. And part of the reason is to make a good silica that is stable and has a long shelf life. It will be more alkaline. So silicas as an additive, and many of your audience will know this, experienced growers, silicas have a very short shelf life typically, okay, because they're hard to stabilize for manufacturers to make that kind of a product. Okay, so we, under the Flareform brand, Andrew actually brought out one of the very first silicas in the market back in 1996, 1997, a product called Silica Magic. So we have a lot of experience with that and the stabilization. So we actually have silica samples that have been stable for 10 years, which is actually, without getting into it, but part of that is it is alkaline. So when you add that to your reservoir, your pH should just start jumping right away. Okay, so for a lot of people, yeah, that starts causing lockout right away. So most manufacturers, you put your silica in first with water, and then you get that pH right. Then you can add the other stuff, which is so without having to affect the dropout with the other nutrients. With ours, Marcel, when you add the Vega Flora in first, you're actually conditioning the water. So we actually turn it around backwards, and we say you put this in first. That conditions the water. So whatever shit you decide to put in later, be it a super alkaline silica or what other additives you are adding later, the water it can accept that alkalinity to a point. You can get it to jump 6.5, but it's very difficult. You certainly can't using our line. And we have there's areas of South Australia and actually Michigan where the water they're using is coming out of the ground at pH 8.2. They actually put it.
That's what's coming out of my tap right now, 8.2.
Are you serious?
Yep. All right, ain't that right? Ain't that right, Dale?
Dale's muted.
Make the man work for his microphone there, buddy. That's real nice.
Probably not even listening. He probably fell asleep.
Is this how you bully guys on this podcast because you can see that he's muted?
Yeah, no, it's also
Dale never talks, Ken. Don't worry about it.
Dale's also Darcy's neighbor.
Yeah,
he can't defend himself.
He says about 5 sentences a year.
He's at 8.1. He said.
Okay, so that simplicity, I was going to say, and ease of use for a starting grower, for a first-time grower, you want to know that you can have a result. I'm also going to add that we just launched a new product a month ago, and it's called Veg One, and it's actually quite really.
I can't wait to try it.
I just opened up the page here.
So it just landed in Canada this week. So this is actually revolutionary. It's a 1-part base. So instead of having most bases are 2 parts. But this one, it does not get any easier. A grower can use 1 bottle as a base nutrient through the vegetative phase, through bloom phase, and with our additives, and they don't have to mix that extra bottle of base. So the simplicity of that, it's revolutionary because a lot of 1-part bases in the industry. One of our Am I allowed to name people? I don't know if that's good form.
It's
totally up to me. It's your call.
Are you bad-mouthing them or just...
Okay, I was going to say that a lot of 1-parts on the market, including some by very established companies that basically that have been around since the 90s, the technical spec for that product would be what would be called a slurry. So it's a suspension of particulate matter in liquid. So they have to be shaken. Okay, so anything that needs to be shaken, we're a little bit wary of. Okay, because results may vary if you don't shake it. Okay. The other thing too is it also requires that your reservoir stay agitated, or so that whatever is there stays in suspension and just doesn't settle to the bottom. The other problem, which makes those sorts of products unsuitable for large-scale growers, is that there will be some kind of sediment buildup in the kinks in the line, that kind of thing. Okay, so we're big fans of homogeneous mixtures, to use a chemical term, which is basically one phase. So transparent through going back to high school chemistry here. So that's with the FloraMax products.
There will be a test later.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of crap on about the technical aspects of it, but basically the 1 part has the same pH buffering technology as our 2 part. So we're getting 28 days with no pH drift. And literally, there's a couple of guys online that sort of post using our stuff. One shop here in Adelaide did a great video, and they show their pH 8.2 water in a beaker. Then they add our Vega Flora to it, and then stick the pH meter in it, and literally in a matter of seconds, you see it drop below 6.5.
Wow.
Okay, and so just that. I mean that. So hey, that's great, Ken. Your stuff works great in a lab and stuff like that. But that's why I do encourage people to say, if you get a chance to actually give our stuff a run. Al, if you are doing a run and if you are open to trying us, I would definitely send you a set of samples.
So the Veg One is something that is just one thing from seed to harvest. It says I got the page open. And so that's like the other one that we had, yeah, Marcel, on that kind of thing. So this sounds pretty dummy proof, for a first time grower.
Yeah. So how we're getting around that, okay? Because there is a reality. A plant has different requirements in its phases of growth. And the origins of the two-part base system, so A and B, which growers will be familiar with, it's also called the Dutch system, okay? Were ways of managing the changing plant requirements. So in different phases of growth, nitrogen can become a bad thing, and later on, and maybe you need a bit more phosphorus, particularly in flower. So people so that was the whole A-B thing. It was a way of managing that by having different ratios. That's sort of the origin of it. Okay. Now, how we're getting around it is there's so our line. Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about the line. We have our base. Okay, and then one of our additives is called flower enhancer. Okay, now those two products alone take care of the synthetic requirements of the plant. The other three additives, resin, root, or resin excess, stimulates oil production. Root does root excess, does the root enhancement, and then Organobud, which basically is a kelp. It's a cold water kelp, but it's also sort of has an organic suite of vitamins, aminos.
This is stuff you add later on in the
you add them in the feed chart at different periods of time. But I was going to say the flower enhancer, when you use the flower enhancer with the Veg 1, that basically switches the formulation to a bloom formulation. You should use flower enhancer. So you're basically getting away with doing what you need with 2 bottles. Okay, so Veg 1. Now you can flower a plant successfully just using Veg 1, but you're really selling yourself short in terms of, because the plant needs more phosphorus and potassium. The flower, the harvest will really respond to the addition of those elements in flower. So, but how I guess we could market it as saying that it doesn't get any easier. You can actually grow with just 2 bottles. That's the Veg 1 and the flower enhancer. A lot of people with other nutrient regimes will chicken wire duct tape their regimes with little additions later on. They sort of, the plants are doing well. What more can I be giving it?
Everybody has their own little trick. Right. I know somebody who uses her urine, at some point. So,
Yeah. So those.
I knew Marcel was going to say something. But this is a very an older lady who has been growing all her life, all her adult life, and this is what she's always done. And I mean, I've tried her product before, and it's you're not tasting any pee or anything. It all gets leached out eventually, but it's just another trick. Everybody does something different,
Yeah. So I mean, part of the flower enhancer, so that and the base basically takes care of the synthetic thing. The flower enhancer is an interesting product on its own because all of the FloraMax products were actually designed to work with other lines as well. Okay, so a base is a base, but the other additives, like our best-selling product in North America is our resin excess, which is the oil enhancer. Okay, and there are a number of competing products in that space. Like in bloom additives that increase oil production and oil content. We were able to sort of get in with a lot of grows by sending a sample of that resin excess, and they just bolt that on top of what they were normally using, or they substitute it for whatever oil enhancer they're using. And in straight A/B testing, that product tends to perform very well. And by A/B testing, I mean trichome count. As well as a final product oil content. So with that resin excess, we're seeing part of the reason it's taken off is that there's a lot of independent lab data showing 7 to 10% higher oil content with resin excess. And because the industry is moving heavily towards extraction, I'm hearing estimates
you want a lot of oil.
Yeah. I'm hearing sort of, that basically it's sort of north of 80% of the grown product is for extraction now.
Yeah.
So, and that's the way it's probably going to go as, sort of acceptance and commercialization of, THC, for lack of a term. Is
well, as a grower, Ken Marcel, that's what he does with most of his that he grows. Is actually 90% of it gets extracted. Marcel?
Yeah, I extract almost everything, but so Al might have to make me bigger so you can see it. I'm doing a test with FloraMax, as well as another 1 part nutrient, and so far they're going neck and neck.
Okay, you're in veg still?
Yes. Oh yeah, because we've just started growing, so this is just the beginning of our outdoor season.
Yep. Okay.
So
Right.
I got a question. Is these nutrients and stuff like that? Is there anything that is it included for pests or funguses and things like that too? Are there things that help stop that shit?
Well. Go ahead, Ken. Sorry about that. I was just gonna speak on your guys' silica. That's one of the benefits of silica in your nutrient or in your nutrients line, Al, is because it helps fight disease, pest, heat, and drought.
Okay.
And I was just going to point out that that's FloraMax growth in 24 hours of a cloudy, rainy day.
That's on your picture there.
On my picture there. So where that green string was tied on, the plant was below that string yesterday morning.
Well, so, you're look, veg. I think a lot of people can come up with quite credible veg formulations. Okay, obviously the plant requirements in flower are going to change. So so look, keen to your feedback. I'm keen for your feedback on that, how it compares. On the pest question, and also just to clarify, Marcel, you're using the 2-part, not so you're comparing it to a 1-part. But look,
I'm comparing it to a competitor's 1 part. Yeah, but I'm using 3 parts.
Okay, so our 2-part, we've tested our 2-part versus our 1-part, and they're extremely similar in performance. So
good.
What would you recommend for me? I mean, I'm at the stage where I'm just now starting to feed and keep an eye on them and pick them and that kind of thing.
Okay, so if it's between our 2 products of a 1-part or a 2-part, that would actually have to do with your water conditions, because our 1-part was originally I can tell everyone that the design mandate. We had a number of growers in the U.S. in very difficult water condition areas. So this is the kind of thing where dudes actually send us water samples, and because of our background in water treatment, we're sort of able to.
Hell, I'll send you. I got a pond on my farm, man, and I got to get it tested. I'll send you some.
You can test. So the 2 critical things we're looking at are the EC of the water. So how many salts are already present, and then and of course the pH. So Veg 1 was actually designed for shitty water conditions, for lack of a better term. Okay, some of those growers could not RO their water because it's just too expensive, or they're too remote because power is a problem and expensive in certain markets in the U.S. So for them to be able, as a commercial grower, to use groundwater or city scheme water is a significant advantage. Of course, if that water is really hot, if you use a normal 2-part, anybody's 2-part, in a lot of those high ppm water environments, you get a lot of scale buildup and you get a lot of synthetic buildups. So that was originally where Veg 1, why it came about. It was like, can we come up with a product that runs cleaner for shitty water? And then, of course, in the process of testing, we found that it actually performs quite favorably in good water environments as well. I would say that if you're using RO water, or your water is very high quality,
I'm probably going to be using water that's delivered, as well as, if I can figure out how, if the pond is within reasonable specs, I will definitely use that as well.
Yeah. So I would give the edge to our 2-part in good water conditions. So some of the medical growers that are using RO, like high quality water, the 2-part's going to probably has a slight edge. And then in most general water conditions and stuff, they would perform similarly. And then if your water is crappy, the Veg 1 is that's the one that I would recommend.
Well, I guess
that was one of my questions actually for you, Cam, while you were on the show tonight. How does your nutrients hold up in RO water?
Okay, so, can you explain what RO water is?
Oh, go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, okay, so RO is short for reverse osmosis water.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, yep. And then, so there is equipment available to growers where they, especially if they have very poor water conditions, where they can basically, it's a purification process. There are membranes that extract the salts out of the water, so basically reducing it to 0 ppm or like very, very low ppm, depending on how old your RO unit is and how effective it is. So there are two issues with running RO units, because on the surface they seem like a great idea, and in some cases you just can't get around it. They're power intensive, okay, so that's not great for the environment necessarily or your cost base. And then the second thing is the time. They don't work super quickly. So if you're having to produce 100-gallon reservoirs, that's an expensive setup from an RO standpoint that you're going to need. So that's the RO thing. So sorry, Darcy, your question was which one would I recommend for RO or
no? How does your nutrients hold up in RO res tank?
The same thing. I mean, usually the RO water is very high quality, so we're not going to have there's hold up. Look, we're still getting the same pH stability, performance wise. There's no issue on the performance. Yeah.
Now my next question for you was chlorinated water, because I know some people that feed their plants chlorinated water, but most nutrients or a lot of nutrients on the market don't really work well with chlorinated water.
Okay, so all right. The other day I was in a shop and I was introduced to a product. Okay, and this product was a water conditioner, and it said on the side, removes chlorine. Okay, now this is where I can actually get a little bit argy-bargy, because that's a load of bullshit. Okay, chlorine gases off so quickly, it's ridiculous. So there's two families here of lack of a better term, called disinfectants. There's chlorines and there's chloramines. Okay, so chlorine is what you stick in your swimming pool. But if you have a swimming pool, you have to keep adding chlorine. There's you have an automated machine that dispenses chlorine, because with contact with oxygen and surface area, that chlorine gases off in a matter of hours. Okay, so when you have a reservoir, and it is even accelerated if you aerate it. So that's
what I was going to say. If you're circulating your pool, well, then it's going to cook off. It's going to bake off even quicker.
Yeah, that's right. So the aerators that people put on faucets and taps and stuff help gas off that chlorine, so your water doesn't taste bad. Okay. Now there has been a trend in water treatment, especially with city waters, over the last couple of years. People are using more and more chloramine. Okay, and chloramines are so as a disinfectant, that's kind of a fantastic, because it's a longer lasting chlorine. So typically chloramine will last 3 days. Okay, so some of you may have heard that old wives' tale about leaving water standing in a jug before watering your plant, okay, for a couple of days. You guys ever heard that? There's
actually, I used to always practice that.
Okay, yeah. So there's two aspects of truth to that, the science behind it. The first thing is you're going to gas off chlorine. Okay, so chlorine itself is not necessarily bad for the plants, but it is bad for bacteria. It will kill bacteria, and that's good and bad bacteria. Okay, so if you gas off the chlorine, or if you let the water stand a little bit, that in some way will probably prevent that. Okay, the removal of chloramine, that's sort of an interesting one, because that takes a few days longer. Back to the jug of water, when you the chlorine gases off. The second thing about it is, when you leave a glass of water, you ever notice bubbles will form in the side? That's the oxygen coming out. So if we get a little bit technical here, water has carbon dioxide in it. When those bubbles form, that's the oxygen gassing off, and it leaves behind a carbon atom. Okay, when you have 3 carbon atoms together, they'll combine and they form a carbonic acid molecule. Okay, and being an acid, that will actually lower the pH. So if you have a glass of water and you sit there and you test the pH, and you come back 3 days later and check it, the pH is probably different. Okay, and that slight lowering of pH can also be beneficial in many agricultural situations, because generally speaking, lower pHs, especially for our favorite crop, tend to be a little bit favored. right? So that's the sort of the element of scientific truth behind those those old wives' tales of leaving your water to stand. Back to your, there was a question about what in the line handles pest control. So Darcy's quite right. The use of silica, not just our silica, any silica, if it's absorbable by the plant. By that, what I'm saying is, if what you bought as silica is actually still good silica and it hasn't expired, because as I mentioned, silicas are extremely unstable. Okay, so there are a number of products on the market. I will caution listeners that there are a number of silicas on the market that would have shelf lives of less than 1 year. Okay, that's how unstable they are. Okay, so you just want to make sure that it's stayed in solution. A good trick is if you see in the silica, if you see any milkiness or any sort of visible residue on the bottom, that's probably already turned, and it's probably probably past its best use date. So results may vary. Okay, so silica should be a homogeneous mixture. Okay, it should be sort of clear through. That's how you know it's still in solution, and the take-up is available on the plant. If you guys go to our silica page, you'll see there's some very interesting molecules. That's on our website, publicly available for everyone. The industry is cottoned on in the silica space onto two.
Already there.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of following along and looking at the pictures.
Yeah. The catchword in the industry in silicas over the last 3 years has been MSA, monosilicic acid. Do you use monosilicic acid? Do you use monosilicic acid? So yes, as a manufacturer, we use monosilicic acid. There's a bit of marketing hype around that, because the reality is when you add potassium silicate to water, which is how most manufacturers, in fact, every manufacturer we know who manufactures silica, that's how they do it. Okay, just adding potassium silicate to water, monosilicic acid, MSA, is actually created anyway. So by saying my silica has monosilicic acid, it's kind of like saying my bread has wheat. Of course it fucking does. Okay, that's how you make flour. Right, so it's kind of so it's a bit of marketing hype about that. What's interesting is that there are other subspecies of silica. So there's one on our website that we've been doing a fair amount of research on, MTSA, which is metasilicic acid. You can actually see pictures of the compounds on our website, and you'll see that that's actually a smaller compound, hence more absorbable, easier to pass through a root membrane. So when people talk about silica, they talk about the bioavailability of it. Do the plants take it up? But even then, even though I'm telling you about metasilicic, this is kind of a little bit of industry dirt. Okay, the reality is a properly made silica is 100% taken up by the plant, regardless of the subspecies. It doesn't matter if you have a small molecule or a big molecule. If it's actually in suspension in the water properly, it will be taken up, and that's what we've actually said on it. There's a technique called silica demand analysis. You're basically taking a recirculating hydro system. You measure the silica in the reservoir. You stick a plant in it. Then you test the silica again. If the silica is gone, it had nowhere to go but the plant, right? So in silica demand analysis, our silica is 100% taken up. All subspecies, metasilicic, monosilicic, and all the bigger ones as well. In fact, other manufacturers in silica demand analysis, if it's not swirling around as sand or like milkiness, if it's still good silica, it'll be 100% taken up by the plant, which means the whole MSA thing gets a little bit of a marketing thing that's sort of going on in the industry. You
just answered me a question. No, you just answered me a question. So that's why my silica that I have, and I won't mention the name of the company, but it's in Australia too. It goes milky.
Okay, so again, I can't. Results may vary.
Actually, you know what I use it for? I use it for I use it as my pH up.
Oh, yeah, that would be effective, right? Because of the alkalinity. That's interesting. That's a good way.
But I use that as my pH up, and I use lemon juice as my pH down.
Yeah, look, there's a you know what? I'll probably get in trouble for this, but this is a little bit of insight from a manufacturer because.
Just a sec. Let me get my beep button. No, I'm kidding. I do have one.
there's some pretty insidious stuff that goes on. Okay, so with silicas, there are silicas branded in the marketplace, and what you'll see on the side of the label, they'll say things like tightens internodal distance, creates a bushier plant, all those things. Those are not things that silica does to a plant. Okay, so if a silica
like
is
sales
created,
words.
Yeah. Well, if a silica is creating that stuff, then it means there's something else in that silica. Okay. Now, as a research company, we've reverse engineered a couple of competitor products, stuff to see what's going on with that kind of stuff. And I will tell you that there are 3 manufacturers that we've detected PGRs, trace amounts, very, very low amounts of PGR in their silica. Okay, now that's kind of nasty, because when you're out there and you're, as a consumer and you're buying stuff, you want to think you're getting something. And of course, so you go, well, how are they doing that? But some of the agricultural additives like silica are not actually well policed. So what happens is you can kind of get away with doing that stuff. And they're not putting in massively meaningful quantities. I'm talking trace quantities of these things. So someone uses it and they go, hey, this silica is great. It works fantastic. I got this bushier plant and all the rest of the stuff. It's like, buddy, that's not the silica that's doing that. So it's something else in there and stuff. So, I don't know how. Also, with the legalization of the industry, there will be increasing scrutiny on consumer protection and quantity. I mean, people are just, I think in Canada, people are just getting up on the consumer protection of the end product at this stage. Okay, but in terms of the various stages of production and how that's policed, I think that it'll take a bit of time before the industry evolves. And our position has always been education. We got nothing to hide. It's always about sharing information and then letting people figure it out on their own or make their own informed decisions.
I have a question, but I think that we're going to take a break and have a pee and then come back and I'll ask it, because then I'm sure that Darcy's got some gross stuff he wants to go through, and I'm sure that it'll be something that you can join in on, Darcy?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, no, definitely.
My question I want to ask before we go, because I'm notorious for getting things, flushing. Is I know it's important to flush if certain chemicals are used. Do you have to flush with this stuff? Quick answer, and then we'll talk about it more later.
We recommend that people follow their regular regimen. If you're used to flushing every week, then you should flush every week, because then you have an accurate comparison for the use of the product. Okay. The reality is there are people who don't. The flush at the end, there's 2 flushes. There's the regular one, and then there's the one at the end of grow. Okay. And at the end of grow, that one as well, we sort of recommend people do what they normally do. Okay. Flushing from the education standpoint, flushing on a weekly or every 2 weeks is recommended, because not just our line, anybody's line. Yep. Because with mineral lines, you can get salt buildups, and you those buildups can, by the end of a grow, reach toxicity levels. So if you flush every week or every 2 weeks, that's a very good practice. Okay. Well,
we're gonna finish that chat when we come back. And it's the 420 Radio Show. We're chatting with Ken Tovich. Did I get it right?
That's right.
Okay, cool. From FloraMax. You can look at their website like we're doing while we're chatting. It's FloraMax, FloraMax.com. And
it's actually one of the best web pages I've ever seen, actually.
It's very informative. There's a lot of stuff there, not just about their products.
It's actually very accurate, very well laid out.
Well, Lenny's very scientific, if you understand here, Ken.
Yep. Sorry, say again?
I said Lenny is very scientific. He likes things when it's laid out very nice and neat and scientific.
Lenny is our Spock.
He understands all that stuff. He explains it to me.
No, but whoever designed all the PDFs and the downloads and the articles, just nuts and bolts, did it perfectly.
Look, Andrew Taylor, who's the head chemist.
Hold on. Let's go to our break, and we'll come back and we'll finish this conversation. Okay?
I just didn't want to forget to say that, but anyway, the page is awesome.
Okay.
Al wants to
we'll continue. Yeah, I've got diabetes sucks. This is the 420 Radio Show. We're live here Fridays, 7 p.m. Come and sesh with us. We'll be right back.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you an independent musician? How would you like to have your songs played on hundreds of radio stations just like the one you're listening to right now? Join MusicSubmit.com and we'll promote your music to radio stations and blogs in your genre. It's free to set up your account, and we guarantee your music will be considered for airplay by radio stations worldwide. Why not sign up today? It's free. MusicSubmit.com. Radio promotion for indie musicians.
You're listening to the randomness that is 420radio.com. Sorry, that's 420radio.ca. Powered by ADHD and fueled by cannabis.
Take these bags off me. I can't use it anymore. It's getting dark, too dark to see. I feel I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, 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 knocking on heaven's door. Mama, put my guns on the ground. I can't shoot down anymore. That cold black cloud is coming down. I'm sick and tired of the war. I've been knocking, knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. 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 Katula matusa fambela mi Ilendi biaka mosadi lako Etombe nzizi zinkotele Koko koko tila muela zulu Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door.
That was Knocking on Heaven's Door by Players for Change. I love the music that comes out of that whole Players for Change thing. It's the 420 radio show. We're chatting with Ken from FloraMax. And we're going to, so that nobody forgets, you can continue your conversation. And when Darcy comes back, we'll let him do his little grow conversation. So you were talking with Lenny, but Lenny's not there anymore. So,
and you're still muted, Ken.
Listen to the Coverage Radio Show every other Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on...
And Al's pushing the wrong buttons.
No, it went into auto. So, anyways, Len, please finish your conversation with Ken, and then we'll let Darcy do his grow thing when he comes back.
I can't even remember what we were talking about. I said honestly, honestly, while Ken was talking, did such a great job. The FloraMax webpage is just a really good, not even just nutrient resource, just a general growing resource. And if you really look at how it's, for anyone who knows anything about growing, everything he has there is very simplified, very basic to the point, well laid out, and it's actually quite accurate. So it's
I don't know anything about growing, and it looks really, interesting, and I've been reading stuff, and,
Look, no, but obviously they're a nutrient company, but again, they had topping and LSTs and light data, CO2, just a good general resource page
and lots of guides.
I thought they did a good job.
Grow guides up the yin yang.
Yeah.
Thanks. So I was gonna. Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I was going to say that if for listeners, there's a section on the website called Grow Guide. And there's a number,
on that.
And Andrew he's the head chemist. He's written a number of books on the topic of growing, and he's so he is a bit of an authority on it. He's taken all the best content out of those books over the years, and he's basically tried to put them into, I think there's about 13 or 14 articles. So there's things on lighting, as you mentioned, CO2, pH, parts per million. So each of those articles is meant to be digestible at one time, having to read a whole book. So depending on where you are, so there's very popular ones, especially for starting growers. There's an article on cutting and cloning.
Yeah.
There are so many people that have gotten started with that, and then there's transition to veg, pot sizes. There's a whole bunch of things in there. You would have questions, but just in reading the article, a lot of questions get answered. Because he's a sharp thinker, and he always tries to predict the problems people are going to have or the questions they're going to ask. But that Grow Guide, that's not just about in fact, I don't know if there's any references in there to our nutrients. They would apply to everyone's nutrients because they're just good practices for growers. So Anyway, but thanks for the shout out to the website.
No, it's excellent. I was kind of like, holy shit, this is quite the little resource page.
There's a lot of free information there that could take a while to accumulate.
I just wanted to let you know, Ken, that when I had to skip out there for a second, it was to answer the door. It was for another grower friend of mine who has a big grow on the go right now, and I gave him a gallon of the AB solution for his flower room, and he used it all, and he just come back and asked me for a refill. I don't even know if I don't think I'd have it. I don't think I'll have enough to give him a refill to finish my test, but I just thought that was quite funny. He goes, "Can I get a refill?"
Well, appreciate the shout out there, but we can chat after. Let me know if there's what I can do to help.
Yep.
So, yeah.
My batteries have died on my mouse on the other computer, so I'm field naked now.
Sorry, I was going to. There was someone also asked a question I didn't actually answer completely about pest control, because we do have a unique product, and so 2 years ago, before all this COVID shit started, I actually went to the Lift show in Toronto, and actually met a number of people and stuff. And what really impressed me about sort of the Canadian commercial market, and it might just be the tightened regulations as well in Canada because the industry is under scrutiny. early on is the adoption or the recognition of the importance of organic use of organics in grows. So, but there were a couple of commercial growers I met with there, and there's a product that we make that they had significant interest in, and it's actually called system maintenance. Okay, and why this is unusual from a pest control or pathogen control, that kind of thing. So we were talking about chlorine and chloramine, a very common condition for growers, especially in if they're using sort of reusing recirculating systems or reservoirs that get a bit messy and stuff, are brown roots, which basically are fungal infections. Pythium or Fusarium are the two most common fungal infections causing brown roots. So we do this product called System Maintenance, which basically it keeps a reservoir clean of biological negative artifacts, of biological artifacts, so biofilms, slimes, and bad bacteria. Okay, so everyone's like puts it in that category of it's going to nuke all your biologicals, but here's where it's different. It actually is compatible with beneficial bacteria, live bacteria that people will use in those organic systems. So it's a very unique product because it allows an organic grower to be organic. Now, I have a little bit of a joke, and I don't want to throw shade on organic growers, but you do meet organic growers and say, I'm a 100% organic grower. And I'm thinking to myself, great, I would really like to try your end product because it's probably really banging. But the reality is he was 100% organic. He or she was a 100% organic grower, except for that 1 week he or she had a problem. Then what they did is they went and they actually said, right, I've got to deal with this issue I'm having with pests or all the rest of it, or, you know, with brown roots and that kind of thing. So that, you know, they might have to get some harsher synthetic based remedies going. And then after a week or so, whatever, they re-inoculate and they go back to the 100% organic thing. The system maintenance, these organic growers had a lot of interest in that product because it allows them to stay. It is itself an organic, 100% organic product, but it actually eliminates bad bacteria while playing nicely with good bacteria. Most products in that space are peroxides or bleach based, which will nuke all your good stuff. But this product is unique in that way. So it's actually a derivative from human healthcare. That industry was struggling for years to come up with bleach substitutes because patients recover quicker if there are probiotics, good bacteria present. So anyway, so that in terms of pest control, when we were talking about that, we don't do anything specifically for spider mites, thrips, root aphids, or anything like that for anything of that nature. But that fungal side, so if it's sort of reservoir based, that's sort of the space that we're comfortable sort of developing products for.
Now, Ken, I got a question for you to that about your system maintenance. Has anyone ever tried it as a foliar spray to treat powder mildew?
No. So
challenge accepted, Darcy. Go for it.
Well, I was just I was just thinking though, like if it's safe root wise, I wonder how it would be topically wise.
Well, from a consumption standpoint, I mean, so, you know, general rule with any kind of foliar spray is 2 to 3 weeks prior to harvest, you would never put anything on if you could help it. Okay.
Of course.
So, but that product being an organic product, that would be relatively safe. So, look, yeah.
No, I actually I will try it because I do have a gallon of it here, and I'll try it.
Yeah, it's intended to run as a maintenance dose. So again, sorry, I should clarify that it will not cure brown roots. Okay, but so if an infection is taken hold, you need to use other stuff. But it will, if you use it in its maintenance dose, it prevents those Pythium and Fusarium breakouts. It also has, with other lines as well, it's intended to keep the reservoir clean of biofilms like molds, slimes, that kind of stuff, and it'll
green
work.
Green algae.
It'll prevent it from taking hold. Yes, if you've already got it. Yeah. So it's sort of a discipline thing, but it runs at a very low rate, so it's fairly economic given its benefits. Yeah.
Can I just jump in one question? I'm looking what the price points are. I'm curious at the two different things that we've been talking about, specifically the veg and the A and B. What kind of price are we looking at for how much and how long will it last? Because, you know, there's a lot of guerrilla growers still out there, you know, and they've got to truck this stuff in and out on their own. So it has to be cost effective, you know.
Right. So I'm actually sorry, because Canada is so new. The pricing is actually not immediately.
Okay.
I'll dig it up here, but it would be within the realm of. Computer's pretty slow when I got you guys on there. It's within the realm of within the industry. I'll get that pricing here.
No rush.
But
we got another hour to go, so yeah.
We're in a number of different markets. So with the currencies and stuff, I just can't remember that stuff. But on your topic of shelf life, this is an interesting thing because so you guys tell me when I say to you a product has a 5-year shelf life, okay? Does that mean anything to you other than it has a 5-year shelf life? Because
I have heard of in this industry, but
so I have a debate with the boss because he says, "Oh, well, when we say 5-year shelf life, people will know that means that it's very soluble. So that means that it's not going to kind of come out of solution and stuff, and that it's actually very stable." But the main thing is that it's soluble, and that it will run clean in the reservoir. And I'm like, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure.
Your boss is wrong.
He's probably listening, so I'm going to catch shit for this later.
No, but
wait for my phone to start ringing here.
I know where he's getting at, but the average
Burlington
person will not
Peterborough.
put 2 and 2 together.
No, I was going to say the same thing, Lenny, because most, and I'm speaking from experience, most growers don't pay attention to that solubility, shelf life stuff with their nutrients. The growers that pay more attention, like myself, Marcel, and we know some other ones, we do, because that's key, because that lets me know, do I need to buy a 5-gallon jug of this stuff, or do I need to buy just gallon jugs of this stuff at a time?
That would be a great article for the webpage, kind of like explaining that. Like you just said, Ken, you articulated it quite well, but I don't think the average person knows that.
I didn't.
I'm trying to find the price in Canada, but they don't have it listed on the website.
No.
Yeah, I didn't see anything either.
Sorry,
No. From the website that's listed in there as distributor or exclusive FloraMax dealers. Oh, one in Alberta. Let me go and see if these guys have it.
Even a U.S. price would be nice.
Oh, actually, the Cannabis Superstore in Toronto, those guys definitely have it. So they're actually the first dealer in Canada. So
they don't have it listed on their website.
Okay. Well,
we're going to start an issue.
Under the shopping, I can't find it.
They've had it very recently, so just recently. But on the shelf life, though, I will say that no product that we make has less than a 5-year shelf life, including the organic products. Okay? And that's how stable it is. So when we say organic, again, there's a perception of organic as being unrefined macro form organics, like bat guano, seagull shit, some of that kind of stuff. Now, that stuff in its unrefined form, like cow manure, for example, okay? So it probably has an effect and it probably works. There's probably good stuff in there, but there's probably a whole bunch of stuff that's not needed as well. The problem with those unrefined organics is fermentation. You throw that in a bottle, stick it on a shelf with a bit of heat, and you can get there, because it is by its nature a biological reaction. There's a whole bunch of reactions going on. Some may be good, some may be bad. So the organics that we use in FloraMax, there's a little bit of on our webpage in terms of we've used the term sort of revolutionary or sort of these newer organics that have been just basically discovered in the last 10 years. And we're using those in a refined form, which allows for the shelf stability. So when you look at it in a glass as an organic, it's not like it's green and it doesn't look like a plant and it's not necessarily growing even, because it's like it's been stabilized to its base like organic compound. So that's how we're achieving the minimum 5-year shelf life. Some of our products, like our silica, actually, because we know that stability in silica is a serious challenge to its ability to be taken up by a plant, our silica has a 10-year shelf life, which is which should give consumers comfort and security, knowing that it's well designed, as well as that it will, that they don't have to use it up that quickly. So, but that stability thing, when you talk about how long it's the shelf life thing, we read into it long shelf lives as being sort of a soluble and stable product.
Hey, Al.
Yo.
I just shared something to our Facebook group.
Okay.
Check it out. You wanted to know prices? Check it out. That's all USD prices.
Alrighty then. Yeah. So, I want to take a minute and chat with Ken about off-topic stuff because he is in Australia. And I like to get perspective on different countries and what they're going through. By my account, Australia is 5-10 years ago that we've already been through. They are. It is legal now in some places for medical. Correct.
Federally, there is legal for medical use. The problem is the GPs here, and I'm sort of involved. I know a few, and sort of we chat about this stuff, because there's definitely a groundswell of support for the use of cannabis in a medical sense, but they're hampered by the current legislation. There's only about 6 conditions that they're allowed to actually prescribe cannabis for. Okay, so it's very limited in terms of what they can actually.
Like prescribe. I said, 5-10 years ago here.
So yes, legal, but it is opening up, and there's changes. There's one state, the Australian Capital Territory, which actually houses the capital of Canberra. It's been about 18 months now that they've actually relaxed rules. It's a bit of an experiment, and they tend to lead the way with a lot of legislation, progressive legislation. So there, I think individuals can cultivate 2 plants to a maximum.
I was going to ask that, yeah.
Yeah, to a maximum of 4 per household. But there's some constraints on it, like you're not allowed to grow indoors. You have to grow outdoors.
Okay.
So an interesting byproduct of that is that I've seen counties in the U.S. that were big proponents of outdoor growing, and then they saw the level of basically burglary, property damage, property invasions.
Yeah.
That went up in those jurisdictions because, of course, somebody's walking by and smells something.
Well, that happens a lot still in Humboldt and other regions down in California, right? Here too.
Sorry,
I mean, there's an influx of growing here in Canada, so Darcy's been ripped off, Marcel's been ripped off. I'm hoping I don't get ripped off. I mean, just like anybody else, you put a lot of sweat and tears into a grow, and then somebody comes along right at the right moment and just nips it. It's something that's worldwide. It's a worldwide epidemic of people doing that. Grow your own, for fuck's sakes.
It's such a dog move to do that, because it's kind of like, the way that I think about it is like, imagine if you went to the Botanic Gardens and you just started taking rose cuttings. How do you reckon that would go? It's like, it's kind of the same thing, right? So or go to your local city council, the landscaping in front, and then start chopping flowers because you want a bouquet at home. That's kind of. It's dog. So I did get the pricing up here. So the Canadian pricing.
Okay.
Look, our recommended retail price for the base, the Vega Flora, for a liter is about $22.
That's not so bad. And how long will that a liter last you?
Well, it depends on
the condition.
That would be a liter of A and a liter of B, and it's sort of the usage rate. We would be probably in line with the industry. I wouldn't say we're a highly concentrated line. We've seen there are lines that have very, very high concentrations. That can be dangerous because it's easy to get the dosing wrong. If the stuff you're using is super hot.
Sorry, Ken. Al, you use about 13 to 15 mils per gallon.
So it'll last. A nice jug will last you a little while. Will last you grow anyways, right?
It depends on how many plants you're growing and
Well,
how big those
of
plants
course,
get.
of course.
Yeah, so
I'd say a gallon jug of the AB, which would likely run you about $50 Canadian. Would that be right?
Sorry, the 5 liter pricing. Oh well, the gallon. Yeah, 5 liter gallons are there's about $60 each.
Yeah.
So after an AB set, you're at full retail. It's $120.
That would likely grow. That would grow your 4 plants out.
Yeah. Cool. So that's that. So I mean, it matters to some people. There's a lot of people. I mean, Canada's growing in the medical community. There's a lot of people on fixed incomes that are growing their meds, and so I mean, price matters. You know.
There's a couple. Sorry if I could just interrupt.
Go ahead.
On the line. There's a couple things because we have fewer bottles. It's because we've actually, with a number of our products, we've built multi-functionality into each product.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a common additive a lot of growers will use called, the vernacular is a CalMag, which is a calcium magnesium supplement. Okay, so a lot of growers just incorporate CalMags in their grows, and it's an interesting one because CalMags. So if you go back historically in the 90s, there were these lines. Then people figured out lighting, they figured out environment, CO2. All of a sudden, you could push the plants harder, and the plants started looking deficient because the nutrients didn't keep up. So the industry Band-Aid solution was a CalMag, these CalMag additives, and it's kind of become a catch-all. Oh, a plant's not looking too good, hit it with some CalMag. So people just, and then from there, people just started in their regular recipes adding CalMags. But our position is if lines have been designed properly from the beginning, for current conditions, you would not need a CalMag. So, in fact, our flower enhancer product, which is a phosphorus potassium additive, it also has the pH buffering, but it is also a full CalMag. So, our line is we actually put on our feed charts, do not use a CalMag with our line. If you do, you can actually create kind of a messy situation in your reservoir. It'll go milky white. That's the calcium supersaturated coming out of solution. So, it actually gets messy. So what we've done is we've actually taken out a whole product that most people end up buying anyway and just incorporating it in the line. The Organobud, which is basically it's a kelp extract that has our organic in it, that has vitamins, fulvic, and humic acids. In some lines, that's 4 bottles. So, if people are looking at buying and using a whole line, aside from the fact that it's very unwieldy to grow a plant using 12, it's a weed plant. It shouldn't take 12, 15 bottles to grow a weed plant. The stuff should grow naturally.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's not what I want. I want 1, maybe 2. I want it simple. Like I want to be the stupid stoner out in the field going, "Hey, this is working," and not have to worry about it.
Yeah.
That's me.
Anyway,
Marcel, that's me. Yeah.
Sorry, hijacked the conversation a little bit there about that.
Don't be sorry. I mean, there's people that'll find it boring, and there's people that'll find it interesting. So,
yes, Marcel.
What's your growth segment tonight about?
I know you would.
Okay, wait.
Without that.
Okay, you ready?
This is how we grow the weed.
Actually, it's kind of ironic that Ken brought up feeding.
We grow the weed using FloraMax.
We grow the weed.
I want to talk about just a little bit about feeding and feeding schedules for outdoor plants right now, and for some guerrilla growers that don't get to the woods a lot or get to their secret hiding spot wherever they have it. It could be a field, it could be wherever, but I just want to talk about that, and then about your 4 plants that you're growing at home. Feeding right now is important because you're in that stage where you want to give that plant its last 2-3 weeks of veg growth and give it the proper nutrients it needs to get to that stage that you're expecting for your expectation. So or if you don't, then just don't feed it. But myself, I've been feeding mine now twice a week, a Monday and a Friday. I go out and I make sure that they get fed, whether or not it's the soil super saturated or not. If it's too super saturated, you can foliar feed them. They'll still get the nutrients that way. And some people, that's the only way that they don't feed their plants at the root zone. They only foliar spray right up until buds start on their plants. So then you got no choice. You're gonna have to feed at the root zone because you definitely ain't spraying no stuff on your buds. So at least I don't.
Trust me, there'll be people that'll do it.
Oh no, I do. There definitely is, but I don't recommend it. So I don't think you should do that. So, but when it comes to feeding in the woods, you'd want I tend to use a granular soluble product, so like a hand fertilizer to top dress my holes in the woods, or if I was growing a guerrilla crop, because you're not going to be there a lot, so you want nutrients to be able to be fed, and that's one way to get nutrients into your plants is with a granular solution. So one of the ones that I've been using lately is one grown by Green Planet. It seems to show some really good results for them plants that you don't seem to get to a lot. Far as the ones in your yard, well, keep an eye on things and feed them every 5 days if you want. They recommend once a week, but you want them plants to produce every 5 days, and make sure that you defoliate to some, because if you want lots of new growth, plants can't get light through leaf. So, and you're not in the leaf growing business. So
when do you start pulling leaf?
Well, I've been pulling leaf ever since my plant was 8 inches tall.
Okay,
but that's just me. That's one style that I do. I can't speak for the way that Lenny would grow his or the way that Marcel or Dale would grow theirs. Marcel, what do you do?
I feed twice a week.
But no, first pulling leaf.
Foliation.
Oh,
defoliation.
Not until I'm into flower.
I do it for day 1 of flower and usually day 21.
Yeah. During flower outdoor, I want as much leaf as possible during veg. If the lower leaves, the ones that start getting old and yellow, those ones I pull. Once they start turning yellow, they're not doing any energy conversion. So I pull those leaves. And then when it comes to flower, I'll start pulling leaves, but it's more to let light in. So I can get light into the lower buds, because I use all those lower buds for concentrate.
So you want them to swell up like little popcorn buds?
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to trim them. I can just dry them.
Pick them, dry them, and extract them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the extent. I try to do as little as possible on the plant while it's growing. But I live in Nova Scotia, so airflow is important.
Yes.
I
got
a food question that I don't want to forget about. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I got to remove a lot of leaf in the flowering stage, especially the later flowering stage.
Because you need the airflow.
I want the airflow because I don't want any. I don't want any.
Is
powder,
it easier?
Is
it easier to get molds and mildews out there because of the salt water?
No.
So
because of humidity.
High humidity, Al. We have really high humidity, and if you have a lot of leaf and leaf laying on leaf, and then leaf that can't get a lot of airflow.
So the salt in the air, it doesn't really affect planting.
Well, it does, but we don't live on where we live. The salt air isn't really affecting us.
Dude, I got within 100 miles of the border going into where the bridge is, and you could smell the difference in the air.
Oh, I'm sure you can.
But I mean, you left Smogtown to come to here, right? So you were just smelling clean air.
So I got a question.
There's no place in Nova Scotia that's more than 60 kilometers away from the ocean.
Okay. I get a question about mixing products. Is it safe to do that, or is it not safe to do that? Because I know a lot of people, sometimes you get this product, then it's not available, you're all out, you go and you get something else. So you're going to be able to do that and juggle it around, or is it really just a no-no? Other than, of course, you want to keep everybody on your product.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah,
sorry.
sometimes.
I thought
I'm talking to the other guy.
Sorry, I thought it was Darcy's
segment.
Yeah, it's Darcy, answer that question for Al.
And then,
Well,
and then
whoever-
Ken can correct you.
I have something to continue as well.
Well, he was
Go ahead,
he was talking about feeding and stuff, so that's why I thought, like different products and stuff like that. You feed them one day, this and that. Could it hurt it?
Yeah.
That's all.
With FloraMax, because it's a new product and we're probably a little bit of a late entrant to the nutrient. A lot of brands been around for a very long time, that kind of thing. And there's it's tough to convert people to or get people to try new products, especially if they've gotten results with old products. So we designed the line so that our additives could all be used as standalones. Okay, so for example, our Root XS as a root accelerant is compatible with other lines. Okay, we actually tested our additives with three main, just because in the commercial grows that we see, we've these lines tend to come up the most often. So this is advertising for them, so no one should be offended. But that would be Canna, House and Garden, and General Hydro. So all our additives were quite rigorously tested with those three lines, so we know that they work with them. In fact, our flowering enhancer, because of the built-in CalMag and the pH control, it does some miraculous things for other people's bases. Okay, but it happens to work very well with our base. I'll throw that in there because I know the boss is listening. But those additives, though, so Root XS, which it's a root enhancer, that will work with other people's lines. Resin XS, we're not a purely synthetic line, so there are organic elements and stuff. But if people are sort of as part of the regime, if they're using chlorine or chloramine or something as a pest control thing, because there's all those those hardcore hydro guys, the deep water culture guys that are not organic in any way. If they're just running chloramines as part of their regular regimen, that won't play nicely with our additives. But growers that are looking at experimenting with switching different things, I would say even with our line or anyone's line, the key thing to look at is the parts per million or the EC, electroconductivity. If growers are sort of across that, so we have our data which sort of shows an ideal EC that we typically run in veg. Everything that we think, Darcy is causing us to rethink. Thanks.
Well, I was going to say, Darcy, I mean, you mix and match all the time, right?
I do, but I've been running his nutrients solely on the indoor and outdoor crop, and I've been playing around with the EC because I've been running it like my other nutrients that I had. So I run higher than what they suggest EC, and I'm not getting no burn. What I'm getting is crazy accelerate plant growth, crazy internodal spacing, which all has to do with obviously my lighting too, but the nutrients is what is helping. And the other thing I noticed with it is it's growing so goddamn fucking fast, and they're eating like crazy, so they grow dry really fast too.
So how much water do you give them each?
Me, I'm watering right now. I'm watering 2 gallons, 2 to 2.5 gallons every 2 days.
Every 2 days,
and that's in a 5-gallon pot.
Okay.
Just for people listening on the EC discussion, so good manufacturers should on their feedstock have target ECs or target PPMs. Okay. We were having this debate, PPMs or ECs. So one of the articles on the FloraMax page, there's a lovely table that converts EC to PPM because some people aren't aware even that there are 3 PPM scales. There's the 500 scale, the 700 scale, and the UTEC scale. So when you say I'm running at 400 ppms, it kind of depends on where you are in the world. So and even so, good pens or truncheons will have a dial that you can hit your calibration. Am I on the 500 scale or 700 scale? The good thing about using EC is that that's kind of like the metric system. Anywhere in the world, when you say my EC is 1.5, that means the same thing. So whereas with ppms, I meet growers and they're like, oh yeah, I run, my water coming out of the ground is 200 ppm. That's not super meaningful if I don't know what scale they used. But for growers that want to run, and sort of get faster growth and stuff, what Darcy's doing for us is a little bit is quite different because he's running it way hotter. Typically, growers using the EC he's running. So to give you an idea, in early bloom, we recommend an EC of 2.0. And Darcy, you would be what? You're north of 3?
I was checked it the other day. It was 3.4, bounce between 3.4 and 3.5.
Yeah, so most people who would do that would see tip burn. They would see signs of toxicity. Okay, but to me that just means that there's other aspects. There's other things that Darcy's doing that's allowing the plants to take those up. From an environmental standpoint, because the plant's got to be happy in order to be absorbing that much, and not just kind of say, "Fuck, I don't want it," and just like kind of and burn. So on the watering regimen. Again, on our grow guide, there's a great article in there. I think it's in the transition to veg. So from when you're going to seedling, the article is called Transition to Veg, and they talk about watering frequency. Okay, so there is one advantage that we see to more frequent watering because we see everything from once a week, twice a week, once every other day. One of the advantages to more frequent watering is it can prevent synthetic buildup at the root zone level. Just because if you're not, so Darcy mentioning his rate, you said, is it 2 gallons that you're sort of
2.5 gallons every 2 days?
Yeah,
that's per plant.
Per plant,
2, but that's per plant for 2 plants.
Right. So basically,
like 5 gallon bucket every 2 days.
Yeah, that's a lot of feed at one time. So he's definitely flushing. He's definitely flushing through. So that would help as well. People who feed more frequently might use less volume, but one of the advantages of more frequent feeding, which might be every other day, or in some indoor situations every day, is that it prevents buildups in the root zone. It helps sort of flush through things. A lot of that because there was a question earlier today about flushing regimes. So personally, I'm on every Monday is flush day. Just flush through with water, are really good just to sort of help keep that root zone free of those synthetic buildups. Some people are every 2 weeks. There are people who never flush, but again, that's just sort of over time, your local conditions, how you grow, that kind of thing. But there is there's on our website there's some articles dealing with those issues.
I have an EC question for Darcy, Marcel, and Ken.
I have an EC question for Darcy.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, no. Is there such thing as besides assuming there's no tip burns or nutrient burns? Is there an EC that's so high that it's just a waste of money? You're just flushing nutrients down this drain.
Well, when it comes to a point, there comes to a point where your plant, like the last guy that said when he was on, there's a point that it comes to your plant where it can only take so much, right? That was one of the key things with his nutrient was that it could let your plant take a lot of feed. So yes, there is a point, but I've seen it with my own eyes, EC of 9, 9.5, 10.
I've seen higher.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying, Lenny, right?
Yeah, you know where I've seen it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh yeah. But
the
it's
key,
also strain specific because some strains can't take heavy feedings and others just can't get enough food.
And it's all about that dry back. If you let that dry back too far, that plant dries out a little too far, you fucked it, you nuked it, you just burnt that roots. You may have thought you caught it because the plant's growing healthy for a day or two, but then all of a sudden, man, that shit's gonna brown out like crazy because you fucked it. You let it go too far. I've seen it. In the last 2 grows at a friend's place, man, his last 2 grows, he fucked up and tried to replicate what I do, and he let his drybacks go a little too far, and he fucked it, man. He thought he caught it, and 2 days down the road, then buds just started going. Every leaf on the outside, man, just went crispy like that, and then the bud just looked like shit.
So my question, Darcy, for you is: have you checked your output EC, and what's that run at?
The bottom?
Yeah.
My bottom right now is running out about 2.6. It was 2.5, 2.6 the other day, Marcel, and it was going in at around 3.5.
So 3.526. So your plant is basically uptaking 1.
It's uptaking 1 right around 1 right now.
So then you would be in that situation where you're actually using more nutrients than the plant can handle.
Oh, definitely. But I wanted to see where I could push it to where I knew if the plant was eating it, if it's how much it's eating, because there's 2 different plants in there, right? So that's why I wanted to see, right, how they respond to it. But for an example, because I was given some of that stuff, there's what happened to it. I'm turning it into hash for somebody, but 1 second here. I got to turn that blur off.
As long as you put it in front of you, it should be all right.
Now I can.
There you go.
See how it browned?
Yeah. Oh, bless you.
Yeah, that brown made me.
That's from overfeeding with a high EC and letting your drybacks go.
So the good thing is that he's not going to lose his grow. He can make some oil out of it.
Well, you can. You definitely can. Do a good flush. Definitely do a good flush. And then I'm going to extract it into hash. There's a lot of crystal on it. It's just that shitty brown leaf. The bag appeal for that if it was for a retail, no one's gonna buy that.
But if it's just for your personal grow, it would be all right.
Yeah, we want to sit there and trim all that leaf out.
Yeah,
because that's definitely going to make your joints taste like shit.
Yeah,
harsh.
Oh man, no, Ken, I am the most analist. No, I know someone a little more anal than me that rolls. But
hi, Marcel.
I'm not. Even more anal than Marcel. Lenny knows who I'm talking about. But when I sit and roll a joint, it's a process. It's like a 20-minute process, and I sit there and I pick every fucking little leaf off that bud. I want to smoke bud, not leaf.
And some people, like I know a lot of medical cannabis users that leave the leaf, a little bit of the leaf.
Sure.
Right. Lori McEachern used to do that. Right, I don't know if she probably still does.
Oh, it's rich in crystal. Don't get me wrong.
It's full of crystal, but also it's a lot of the newer crystal, which hasn't fully developed, so you're getting higher CBGs and CBDs and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's
from...
Makes sense.
There's like 5 grams of leaf in this jar, and that's all from rolling joints tonight. I'll use that. I'll take that, Lenny, or Al.
And squish it.
Well, and Lenny, I guess, because that's what we squished last week. And I got out of the 16 grams, I got a little over 2.5 grams of rosin out of it. And
how was it? Good?
It was really good. Yeah. Actually, I got some there for Lenny to try. And Marcel when I see him.
Cool. So, are you?
I'm done. Yes, okay. We got 10 minutes left. So
I want to make sure that Ken gets shout outs and stuff like that, and So, why don't you tell people where they can find your main website, and then they can go from there as far as dealers go.
Yeah, right. So again, it's early days for us, but we're looking at sort of there'll be some fairly rapid expansion at the moment. There's only 2 shops in Canada carrying us. There's a shop called Paraglass in Wainwright, Alberta. They actually contacted us a few months ago, and then there's a Cannabis Superstore in Toronto. But we're I know we've been speaking about a number of shops over east in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick.
Yes, we have,
and We kind of got euchred by the whole COVID thing because we're a year and a half behind in Canada from when we first sort of started talking to people, and that was just because I haven't been able to get over there to sort of meet and sort of just get it into shops. But people are listening, and you can go to www.floramax.com. There is a dealer page there. At the moment, under Canada, you'll see there's only 2 shops, but that will probably change fairly quickly.
You can't buy direct?
No, sorry, we're not able to do that just because so we manufacture everything here in Australia.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah,
we have a warehouse in Vancouver, and basically
you ship it there, and then
yeah, but because of the nature of the warehouse and stuff, it's kind of like pallet loads. So I will put out there that and now anybody who's listening. And if you saw some value in this, or if you have some questions about, sort of the products, or, even if you just want to talk a little bit about some of the tips that we were talking about, or maybe you take issue with some of the advice we give in any of our articles, we're always open to getting better and learning. So you can contact us through Facebook, but better is through our Instagram. We have an Instagram called FloraMax Nutrients. There's also a UK FloraMax. UK is a bit of a restrictive environment, as is Australia. So we're limited by some of the media communications laws as to what kind of content we can portray. But our Instagram technically is a US Instagram, which is open slather, I suppose. So that's a little bit more about what we're about and the crop-specific nature of the nutrient line.
You can put porn on Instagram, but you can't talk about nutrients openly. That's fucked up.
Yeah. So anyway, but that's so again, we're a crop specific line. In some of those other markets, we get up to all sorts of shenanigans about we get asked, can you use your line for tomatoes? I'm like, I suppose you can, but you end up with like a $3 tomato. It's I don't know if it's
it works. Really. I can show you what it looks like. I can take pictures and send you. Because my tomatoes get everything right. My veggie garden gets everything that my other plants get.
Yeah, okay.
Darcy, give me one of those $3 tomatoes.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, so you did bring up the issue of cost and stuff, and in terms of sort of where we are in the in the marketplace and stuff. So primarily we're a research company, and that we happen to sort of put our findings into product, that kind of thing. So we're always really interested in grower feedback, those kind of things. If people are using our product, and we can get a dialogue going, send photos through Instagram. We put them up on the page. If there's LPs or other growers and stuff, we try to promote the people that use our product as well, because if they've had good results, it's likely that other people will get good results. A number of the commercial growers that feature on our pages have helped develop the product over the years. So, case in point, this new 1-part base that is literally was driven by the feedback from a couple of people who had very poor water environment, poor water quality environments.
That's the veg one?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's the veg one, Al.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the veg one. So, and again, thanks guys very much for, I don't know in terms of shutouts, I don't know who I could be thanking, but thanks to you guys for sort of having me on and being so great with the dialogue and stuff.
It's what we do, man. This is our Friday night.
I'm keen to get over there and meet you guys in person. So as soon as we're having some rapidly changing travel discussions here in Australia at the moment. In fact, just yesterday there was a cabinet meeting and they've actually outlined an actual plan where they're sort of going to do away with the hard lockdowns that Australia is getting known for.
I'm seeing posts from people going to events with no masks and stuff like that. They had a big concert going on, and there's people there. They've got pictures, and people are standing there with no masks. Out west. It ain't happening here or out east yet, right?
I assume Lift is going to happen. I assume Ken will be at Lift, so maybe we'll meet you there.
Is Lift going to happen this year?
I think so.
Yeah.
You said you were at the Lift before COVID, right?
Yeah, I was.
He was there. He was there when I met Jared.
So he was there when we were there. Were you there as a spectator, or did you have a booth?
No. We didn't have a booth. I was actually there just to try to meet people. We were trying to figure out how sort of introducing a product to Canada from here. There's distributors that want to sort of carry your product, and we weren't sure how we were going to do it. So I had to try to figure out the nature of the industry there, and also because the regulations are changing so quickly. How we do, with manufacturing, making a good product, that's only part of the game. The other thing too is actually getting it registered for, getting it actually registered in the jurisdictions you want to sell. So your labels and stuff like that, the claims you make, that kind of thing. We will say that the Department of Agriculture in Oregon is extremely strict. So California is also pretty strict. There's a number of competitors that have been effectively blocked out of that market because of either what they're using or how they label it or the claims that you make towards product efficacy. So that's a game in itself for manufacturers. Wow. So, and at the end of the day, like that's why we need to get it into people's hands so people can give it a try, and then I think consumers will make their own decisions based on that. But we appreciate anyone who tries our product.
Well, I tell you what, you send me some stuff and I will try it, and then when the time comes in the process, there we'll have you back on and you'll see firsthand how I'm doing.
Perfect.
Just like with Darcy and with what Marcel is doing. So, I always enjoy meeting new people, especially on the other side of the world. We asked Ken before the show if he'd go flush a toilet for us, but I was joking. I've actually had that done. I've had somebody do it. Oh, here we go. Okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna flush. Okay, let me put you on the thing. Okay, so Ken,
the other way out.
Ken is in. Yeah, I gotta. It should go the other way. So we go what? Clockwise, right? You guys go counterclockwise.
Okay, hang on a second.
It's funny, 2021, and we're having fun watching a toilet flush in Australia on a Friday evening.
Just making sure nobody's in there.
Make sure there's no logs in there, eh?
No shit stains. Right. Okay, we have here the dunny.
Is that what this called? A gunny?
Dunny.
The dunny.
A dunny.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hang on. You know what? Hang on a second. No, this isn't the right one.
He doesn't even have a swirl.
It doesn't swirl. It's got to go to the other bathroom.
That was such a letdown.
That was such a letdown. But I might actually fill a drain.
There you go. The drain would work. The
drain might work.
The sink will work. Yeah. So it should go counterclockwise, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think mirror-wise what's going on here. Okay.
No, it should work.
All right. Moment of truth.
Yep. Go ahead.
This is going to be anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there it goes.
There you
clockwise.
Go. Did it? It went clockwise.
It doesn't matter which end of the world it's a myth. Bart Simpson proved it on Simpsons.
Well, you see, I didn't know that. I always thought that it was
go the other way.
Go the other way. And with the right flush toilet, it might. No.
You can get toilets that'll flush water the opposite direction.
It's all a matter of which way the nozzle's pointing. I mean, I know that. But.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you for being a sport, Ken.
Yeah, I was going to say thank you very much, Ken, for getting up on a Saturday morning.
It's Saturday morning here in Australia, so
nice
you guys have a good Friday night.
Your guys' outdoor harvest must be just finishing up now, or it's already been finished.
Well, it's winter there. Is it technically winter there?
No. No one grows here. It's illegal.
Yeah, I know. So the ones that aren't growing, they're just finishing their harvest now.
It's year round. It's year round here.
Is it?
Really?
Oh, because of your location. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a mountainous area in Victoria, New South Wales where people ski, but everywhere else you can grow year round.
So is it the same kind of climate that's in North America, just different times of year? Is there snow in some areas?
There's snow at altitude.
At altitude, okay, like California.
Yeah. So it's actually very similar. Probably like Northern California. Well, actually, now they get more snow. So. It's So to give you an idea, where I am in Western Australia, it's 5 degrees Celsius at night, 5 to 10 degrees at night, and in the day it'll get between 20 and 30.
Really, that much difference, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So just a bit of sun. So it gets a bit cool at night, but in the day you see people at the beach. It's
how hot does it get in January, February?
So hot days here are days, we'll get
over 100, I would think.
A few days over 40 degrees. So they'll call it a heat wave if we get 3 to 5 days over 40 in a row.
Yeah, we get those.
Yeah.
I want to come to Australia and take a ride on the Afghan.
I want to go to Nimbin. I want to go to the festival.
Oh, Nimbin and Byron. Tell you what, guys, if you guys are going, you guys should do a little field trip. Do a 420 radio show from Nimbin. I'll join you.
Dude, you know, we go.
Wouldn't that be fun?
We could pull it off.
No offense,
yeah.
I'm never going to Australia. It's too fucking far. Sorry, boys.
Lenny hates fucking traveling on a plane anyway, so Australia would be.
I
killer.
love airplanes, man.
But Lenny, they have kangaroos.
Those would be fucking cool to see. I'll give you that.
Can you go kangaroo riding?
and big crazy ass spiders. Yeah,
big ass spiders, yeah, and lots of
I like
gold
spiders.
apparently. Lots of gold. We can go prospecting, Len. Come on.
Yeah, I'm never going to Australia. I'm never going to New Zealand. I'm sorry, it's the other side of the world.
Right.
I'm not going to Hawaii either.
I'd like to go to Hawaii. There's a lot of cool shit in Hawaii. Anyways, Ken, you're welcome to join us anytime. Like I said, we'll figure out the other stuff and we'll keep tabs on what's going on and stuff like that. I'm sure we'll be talking about your product along the way because the guys are using it. And next week we have Warren Barblow, who wrote a cannabis and alcohol book with different recipes to make that are cannabis and alcohol-y. He'll be here to chat. He's been on the show a few years ago. Do you remember him, Marcel? I've got the book here somewhere. I don't remember if he was a good guest or not.
I never got the book, so it wasn't.
Yeah, obviously wasn't a bad guest.
Did you ever get that novel that they said they were going to send you? I guess not, eh?
No.
Yeah, well. All right.
I did get one.
Did you? Did you read it?
Not yet.
Not yet. Lunch bag let down.
All right. I'll start tomorrow.
Okay. It's the 420 Radio Show. Join us every week, 7 p.m., 420radio.ca. Peace, love, and hippie shit, as our buddy Chris Backer says. And we'll talk to you next week.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.